And welcome to this afternoon's regular scheduled business meeting. We will have our invocation. Is this correct with Dr. Falami once again?
That is correct.
All right, with Dr. LaWanda Falami of Greater Bethlehem Church in Atlanta, Georgia. It will be followed up by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would, please stand with me. Is the good doctor in the house?
I don't see her. Yeah.
All right, well, let's have a moment of silent prayer, please.
One second. Point of privilege. I see the doctor there. Mr. Chair.
Doc, you're right on time.
Always right.
Just like God. Always
right.
on time.
Greetings, Chair, Madam Chair, every commissioner that perplexed place, neighbors, friends, my colleagues to my left and right. Let us pray. Our Father, once again we come standing before you with our bending knees and our head tilted to the hills which cometh your help. We come right now just to say thank you, realizing this is a day that you have made and we shall rejoice in it. Now we invite your presence in this room. Govern us accordingly. Let your will be done. Pour out your spirit among these commissioners. Walk with them, talk with them, and lead them. Then, Father, when there is no more room, let them not lead to their own understanding, but in all ways acknowledge you. And we will be so careful to give you all the praise and all the glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which we stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty is for all.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our January 17th, 2023 regular business meeting. The first order of business is the adoption of the agenda. Do any board members have any amendments at this time?
Yes, Madam Clerk. First, I would like to remove item 26, Resolution 2023-28, authorizing Clayton County to apply for an award, and if awarded, accept emergency rental assistance grant funds to the tune of $9 million. From our understanding, the money is not available, so therefore it's a little premature to vote on this. So is there a motion? That's my motion to remove it. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? Those in favor, aye.
I have a question. I'm sorry you've moved a little
Commissioner.
fast, Mr. Chair. My question is, this item has actually been on our agenda previously and we've held it. So I just want to ensure that we are in compliance with the emergency rental funding at this current time, because we still have item 25 on the agenda as well. So I think this can be a bit confusing.
Good evening.
Chief Murtis.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair. Yes, ma'am. The resolution that had been put on before you dealt with the $6.5 million. That resolution was ultimately put back on passed, and we have expended those funds. There were two additional asks for additional $9 million allocations. One of those allocations was reduced down to $433,000. That allocation was approved by the board, and those funds were allocated over to Magistrate Court for the eviction diversion program. The other remaining $9 million is DCA reallocated ERA funds from the state, and there was a resolution passed last year to apply for, and if awarded, accept those funds. We just haven't heard from DCA if they're going to actually reallocate that $9 million pot of money. So we're still waiting to hear from the Commissioner's office on whether we will actually receive those funds.
So if you can, thank you for your response. So you talked about the $9 million from last year. I followed you. You had $6.5 million was the additional amount. We did ask for another amount, but it was reduced down to $433,000 that we gave to Magistrate Court. But then you said last year we asked for the 9 million and we were a little bit ahead. So when you say last year, what time frame? Only because so that I could keep it all together in sequential order.
There were two requests made through the Treasury portal, Commissioner. I want to say one was in July and one was in August. And neither of those requests have moved in the Treasury portal, except for the one that was reduced down to 433. That was federal dollars that was coming down, and then the remaining request that still remains outstanding is the 9 million in reallocated state DCA funds. So this resolution, that there's not another $9 million pot of funds to be accepted, so that's why this is coming off.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so very much. And we will get a complete audit. I saw a breakdown that was forwarded to us, but I'm hoping that we can have something presented to the entire board and for the community to know. Because even with me, as of recent, I'm still getting calls from residents who've had applications in the actual portal for some time now and with no response. I know we're going to talk about reorging that, what was it, an MPO division, whatever it may be. So I'm excited about that vote. But I do know that a lot of folks were in that portal that never got a response.
Yes, ma'am. So the way the Treasury portal was working is we were working through the 6.5 million. Remember, we had the ERA events over at the Morrow Center along with some of the other community events, also drawing down through Judge Keisha Wright-Hill and her eviction programs. Those funds ended back December 29th. So what we did was we put a pause on that so we could do the Treasury reports, which I believe got submitted today. So once that full audit of the Treasury is done, then of course that will be provided to the board for your review to see exactly what was actually spent out of all the pots of ERA money. What we're drawing on down now is the $3.134 million that was left out of ERA 2 funding, which sunsets at the end of 2025. So those applications that had been in the portal the longest, we've now gone back and started reprocessing those applications. That was the work that you approved with the nonprofits at the last board meeting.
Okay.
So we're drawing down on that $3.134 million that was left. Once those funds are expended, the county is out of ERA funds unless this other $9 million comes through from DCA.
Okay, one more question, because this is very critical. The 3.134 million, that does not have to be spent down to 2025. Do we know the actual balance? Is it full? Is it in full balance at 3.1?
That's what was remaining. So that
That's what's
initial
remaining.
pot of
Okay.
money was much larger.
Okay.
That's what the remaining balance was when we put a whole, or when the ERA 1 funds ran out. So that is all that's left out of that original pot of money that was ERA 2 funds.
Okay, and what is the process to be able to get that done? Are we still going through where it's going to be disseminated in a block? Or since you have more time, are we going, like you mentioned, how can we be certain that those who have been calling are going to have an opportunity to get these funds into in their hands so that they can save their homes or
So,
their...
yes, ma'am. So it's being worked in 2 different allocations. So the 2 nonprofits that you guys approved at the last board meeting are working through Neighborly, going through and dealing with those individual applications from oldest to newest. Simultaneously, there's work being done through Judge Keisha Wright-Hill. She's actually started calling landlords that she's had backlogged eviction cases and seeing are they still willing to negotiate, and if they are, then she's going ahead and setting those cases up to be mediated until she spins out what her allocation of that was. So it's actually being worked from 2 different arms of the process right now.
So for the sake of the board, is there a way that we can resubmit those folks to you who we've been getting phone calls from?
Yes, ma'am. So if you'll just forward those over to the call center, Celeste Hollis Singles, she's working on that for us. She's making sure that those go over to the call center.
Okay.
Because one of the things that we're doing, there's a couple things that we have to do through the Neighborly process, and part of that is verifying that they haven't received funds from another program already. So some of the applicants we're seeing have already gotten rental assistance from DCA or some other program, which excludes them from the ERA 2 process. So that's part of the fact checking that we're doing to make sure that we're not double spending, but then also making sure we're going back and hitting the oldest applications and then working our way to the newest ones.
Okay, and one more, if I may ask, because this is important. I see one of our vendors out here, and if I may ask, Mr. Chair, there was a question about Neighborly and about the ease of using it, not so much towards you, because again, when we talk about the homeless population, people need to understand that this is what is in place to keep those from being homeless. So if I may ask that our I see Miss, oh gosh, forgive me. Ms. Perry, how does she feel about the Neighborly, and do we have to use Neighborly, or is there something we can help with Neighborly? Because I know there are a lot of folks who don't have computers, who don't have use of computers, and I think that there were some issues with that. And may I ask that, Mr. Chair, because this is important?
Yes, Ms. Perry, if you would like to answer that question, and you don't have to, but if you'd like to come to the mic and ask, the question is, how do you like the use of the Neighborly app to submit applications?
And forgive me for my, my mommy brain kicked in.
And state your
No
name.
worries. Crystal Perry, District 3. Greetings, Chairman, Vice Chair, Board of Commissioners. I would say that it is not a user-friendly application. If, as an educator of 22 years, I would give it about the ease of use of completing a college application. So if you think about parents who are not able to help their seniors right now apply to college, they also cannot successfully complete the application for rental assistance. So you have to be able to, one, you must have an email. So then elders, if we are creating an email for people who don't understand how to email, when we are now trying to get back in touch with them, that communication is going to dead space. So, and we don't, a paper application means that somebody has to input it, and still there's not a way to continue communication. So the quick answer is it is very 21st century based, but it is not user friendly based on literacy and technology use.
So what have you experienced when you all have tried to help folks with it, if you don't mind?
People have to complete self-attestation documents. There are about minimum 6 up to 12, depending on if you have income, which means you have to open up a digital form, type into that form, save your changes, name it, and then upload it into the appropriate spots. And on some of those places, again, if you're not technology friendly, to understand that blue means that there's a document that be downloaded. Again, it's just small things that are being missed, and if they are not in place, then the application will not move forward.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Perry. Any other questions for the chief?
I just want to make sure we work on that because that's been a complaint I've received over and over again. And I know you all have done an amazing job now that we're reorganizing that side. And then I do have to ask, who's actually helping with those applications at this time? Is it just the nonprofits only?
No, it's a combination of the nonprofits that are on staff, their staff, and then, of course, the 5 call center people that we have in the county, as well as the call center supervisor, and then other staff of OPM is currently assisting. So there's multiple people that are assisting with those applications.
Okay. Who's running a call center real quick?
I believe we just hired a supervisor, or we're onboarding a supervisor right now, but in the interim, it's been a combination of Celeste and Jermaine Freelo over in OPM have been kind of keeping an eye on it.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to say thank you, Chief, and you and the COO for the process that you all have now, because the people that we've received that had complaints or whatever, the staff has been working with them, so I really, really appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
All right, the next item that I would like to,
I think we need to take a vote, Mr. Chair.
we already
did
voted.
vote? Okay, so you just went past the
No,
questions.
wait a minute. Did we vote? Did we vote on
Yeah,
that?
we voted, and you
No,
had a
I asked for a question because he went past, he asked for the question, but I stopped it
I don't think we
before
took
the
a
actual
vote.
vote was
I don't think
taken.
we took a vote. So those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. All right, next, Resolution 2023-929, authorize Clayton County Parks Recreation to enter into agreement to accept a tree donation. Now, this resolution, as well as Resolution 2023-30, providing for the establishment and publication of qualifying fees for the special election for the sheriff, was actually added after the Wednesday's deadline date. So they shouldn't have been on this agenda, but I want to remove them. And then I have one question before I make Mr. CEO, Ms. Stanford. The resolution that deals with the tree donation.
Yes, sir.
Is that something that would fall under emergency item, or can it wait till the next meeting?
It would. It's actually what we're asking the board to do is do a post-ratification. The event actually took place on MLK holiday down as River's Edge, and the hours were from 10 to 1 o'clock. But
We
we wanted to
finished
make sure.
about 2.
Yeah, gotcha. So we wanted to make sure the board would post-ratify the request since we weren't able to get it on before the actual event took place.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for that. So my first motion would be to remove those 2 items from this agenda, which was entered in air. Do I have a motion to remove from this agenda?
Well, how are we
27
gonna
and 28.
approve the one for Parks and Rec if we remove?
Because I'm going to
You wanna
re-enter
put
it
it on
as
the
an
record?
emergency item.
Okay.
Make a motion as emergency
Is that
item.
emergency, scheduled meeting would be when?
Excuse me?
That would be an emergency item for tonight?
Yeah, we're going to take them off, and then I'm going to enter another motion to enter both items as an emergency item because they were entered on this agenda in error.
Can I ask a question, please?
Commissioner Franklin?
We're only hearing verbally that they were entered in error. At what time were they entered? Is that, I mean, the clerk should be able to state that.
Madam Clerk?
Yes, the error, they were both, one was entered on Wednesday at 10:30 p.m. and the other one was entered Friday at 8:27 a.m. I actually added those on the agenda in error, not realizing the timestamps of the 2 items. So they would have to be removed and added back on as quote-unquote emergency requests.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk.
You're welcome.
Did we get a second on that?
Second.
Any other questions? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Now, and I'd like to make a motion to enter or to add to the agenda as emergency items, Resolution 2023-29, accepting donation from Parks and Recreation from Tree Atlanta, and this second resolution being 2023-30, resolution providing for the establishment and publication of qualifying fees for the special election for the sheriff position, which that qualifying fee will be $4,317. Is there a
So
motion?
moved.
Is there a second? Who seconded?
How much is that? again?
$4,317.
So moved.
$17.
Dollars.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think is that what you?
$4,317 and 99 cents.
99 cents.
So moved.
I'm gonna get you, Chuck. Yeah, I don't think that's what I got. Yeah, at any rate, probably moved in second. Those in favor, aye. Or any questions? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Any others?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Franklin.
Yes, I'd like to have item 21 placed on the regular agenda, as well as item 13.
You clear on that, Madam Clerk?
I'm clear, item 13 and 21.
And thank you for your
On the
work,
regular
Madam Clerk.
agenda. Any others?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
item number 30,
Item
board
number 30.
appointment.
Yes. I would like to remove item number 30, which is board appointment for the library board. That position has been filled, and there is no vacancy. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Any others? All right. Seeing and hearing no others, entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Any questions? Those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous.
Our next item is the proclamation, Office of Communications and Print Services, PRSA Award. This is presented by Commissioner DeMont Davis.
Clayton County Board of Commissioners recognizes the Office of Communications and Print Services PRSA Award recipients. Whereas the Clayton County Board of Commissioners Office of Communications earns a top recognition, the Public Relations Society of America PRSA Georgia Phoenix Award, for the most effective in-house marketing campaign for the communications and marketing plan for the Spivey Splash Water Park. And whereas the PRSA Georgia chapter is the second largest chapter in the country, with approximately 850 members and members of Fortune 500 companies, government entities, public relation agencies, and nonprofits who work diligently to earn the mark of excellence using strategic best practices. And whereas the Office of Communications in-house marketing campaign focused on establishing Spivey Splash Water Park as a premier destination to entice Clayton residents, Metro Atlanta residents, and visitors from all around the world to experience the Spivey Splash Water Park features and amenities. The longest lazy river in Georgia and one of only 2 endless wave surf simulators of its kind in Georgia, 4 large water slides, a children's pool, splash and play area, sports pool, cabanas, umbrella, sky trail ropes course, event and meeting rooms. And whereas the strategic, creative, colorful, and engaging graphic designs by the Office of Communications and Print Services staff brought the marketing concept to reality. Media releases, videos, and articles that garnered more than 4,000 views, the many digital advertisements at the Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta Airport, flyers, email blasts, announcements, multiple live newscast previews with reporters and meteorologists, featuring weather reports, while enjoying the pools at the Spivey Splash Water Park. And, of course, the ribbon-cutting ceremony, invitation, and program for 100 participants. And whereas the Communications and Marketing campaign featured a special design invitation for Employee Day at Spivey Splash Water Park, a soft opening, resulting in 548 employees and family members enjoying the amenities. And whereas, as a result of the media, marketing, and communications and social media in-house campaign resulted in 1,000 season passes sold out, boasting revenue of more than $62,000 and 2,500 non-visitors on opening day, and a total of 8,000 or more guests throughout Memorial Day weekend. A total of revenue of more than $1.6 million for opening season, and a total of 117,964 visitors for the 2022 season for the Clayton County Parks and Recreation Department. Now, therefore, I, DeMont Davis, on behalf of the Clayton County Board of Commissioners, do hereby recognize and congratulate Clayton County Office of Communications and Print Services for this outstanding accomplishment. We encourage the citizens of Clayton County to join in the celebration. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of Clayton County, Georgia, to be affixed this 17th day of January in the year 2023. Clayton County Board of Commissioners recognizes the Office of Communications and Print Services PRSA Award recipients. Whereas the Clayton County Board of Commissioners Office of Communications.
As you can see, the communication department loves to talk as well. But we want to thank them for everything they do. You all work hard and you support us in everything that we do. So thank you all. Thank you. Another round of applause.
Mr. Chair, our next item is the presentation, Library Board Update, presented by Chairwoman Mapiller Dawn.
Ms. Dawn?
Good evening, everyone. Chairman Turner, Vice Chair Franklin, Commissioners Anderson, Hambrick, and Davis. The Clayton County Library Board of Trustees is very honored by your invitation to present before you this evening. We're happy to update you and the community on our functional roles, as well as provide an update on some key outcomes from our work. My name is Mapilla Don, and I am proud to serve as the chair of the Clayton County Library Board of Trustees. Before I begin, I do want to acknowledge my fellow trustees who are here with me today. Vice Chair Crystal Perry, Secretary Brenda Harrison, and Dr. Lawanda Falami. Also here is Assistant State Librarian Angela Stanley, as well as our Interim Director of Library Services, Mr. Scott Perrin, and some members of our Library Services staff. Thank y'all so much for being here. Oops. Next slide. Library boards of trustees in Georgia are appointed by local government entities that provide regular financial support for the library. Here in Clayton County, the county serves in that role. According to the library system's constitution and bylaws, the commission shall appoint 11 members of trustees who will serve terms of 3 years. This structure ensures that the commission's appointees will provide oversight, guidance, and support to library administration and staff, and will represent the community's needs and desires for library services and programs. We believe that it is important for the board to reflect the community we serve, including members of diverse race, gender, age, and profession. We urge the commission to consider the priority when appointing new trustees. The roles and responsibilities of library boards of trustees are outlined in the state law, and they're on the screen for all to see. We are to employ a library director who meets the state certification requirements and such other employees as necessary upon the recommendation of the director. We are to approve budgets prepared by the director and assume responsibility for the presentation of the library's fiscal needs to the supporting agencies. We are to attend board meetings. We are to establish policies governing the library programs, including rules and regulations governing the use of the library. We set policies for the administration of gifts of money and property. We are to present financial progress reports to governing officials and to the public. We're to notify the appropriate authorities, in this case, your commission, whenever there's a vacancy, so that you can appoint someone to complete the unexpired terms. And we're to notify the library director in advance of all meetings of the library board and board committees. Our board understands that we serve as the governing body of our library system and that we work in partnership with our director, who is a trained, certified public librarian. The director and the library administration team bring policies and procedure recommendations to the board. The director hires and supervises library staff while reporting to the board. The director and the board work hand in hand to create and monitor the library's operating budget. We are currently a full board. The 11 members of the Clayton County Library Board of Trustees are Mapilla Don, Chair, Vice Chair Crystal Perry, Secretary Brenda Harrison, Trustees Carolyn Boone, Dr. Yvette Dupree, Dr. Lawanda Falami, Linda Lopez, Reverend Felicia Littleton Butts, Dr. Shantara R. Carter, Dr. and Councilwoman Danya Sarton, and Andrea Wade. I would like the record to reflect that our board consists of all women, 10 are Black or African American, and 1 is Hispanic. I think we can do better in terms of diversity. Next slide. Oops. Okay. One of the most important roles of our board is the selection of a library director. Our board is currently engaged in recruitment of our next director, and we're doing it in partnership and assistance from our 2 partners, the state, represented by the state librarian, and the county, represented by HR director. We're encouraged to have excellent candidates who wish to lead our library system and hope to announce the hiring of our director in the coming weeks. As a board, we're committed to not only understanding our roles and responsibilities, but we also prioritize making time to participate in ongoing board trainings that are offered by Georgia Public Library Service. Once our new director is in place, so that everyone is on the same page, we do plan on pursuing training to include our new director, as well as strategic planning for our library system and a fresh look at library staffing. We're also very interested in pursuing a new location for a much-needed Jonesboro library system, Jonesboro Library, to complete our library system. This is an outcome that the board is very interested in, and so is the public. We are happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
All right, anybody have any questions for Ms. Dawn?
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes,
Hammer.
ma'am.
Tonight, we voted for Bookmobile. Will you explain how that will work? I remember it years ago.
Yes, ma'am. Our interim director will be happy to do so.
Okay.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, Chairpersons. The Bookmobile will...
I'm sorry, make sure you state your name.
I'm sorry, Scott Parham, Interim Director, Clayton County Library System. The Bookmobile will be able to go into communities where we currently don't have library branches to provide library services. We will outfit the Bookmobile with Wi-Fi so folks can come, connect to the Wi-Fi with their personal devices. We will also be going to outreach events. It allows us a multitude of flexibility with the vehicle.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was concerned about, for the activities that we have from time to time in the different locations and all.
Yes, ma'am.
Can people check out books or,
We certainly hope so.
I mean, with the Bookmobile?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
It will be outfitted with a collection of its own.
okay.
And yes, folks will be able to check the materials out from the Bookmobile.
Okay, and you know, some time ago, over, 4 or 6 weeks ago, we had a request for the Northwest Library.
Yes.
A community request. And at the time, the person was told that they could not, you know, get the space, that you all were working on some rules or regulations or some things that you all were working on before that could happen. So has that happened? Can the public now use that community room?
Yes, ma'am. The policy was updated at our most recent Board of Trustee meeting, and we will be sending something out and putting something on the website the next week.
Okay, that, in the next week?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right, because I've been recommending that space for the people in the whole county, really, but definitely in that area, so they'll get a chance to see the library, because just as we were gonna have the grand opening, you know, COVID hit,
Absolutely.
right? So we never had a grand opening, so the people that have used that library love it.
Wonderful.
And I want as
And
many.
we want them to come back.
Okay, okay. There was one other thing. You all don't know this, but I did call the COO and the Chief of Staff to report the outside look of the Riverdale Library. Has that been reported to anybody? Have you all, anybody noticed that?
We've actually have a building and maintenance request in to have the building pressure washed. And due to, well, that was in December when the cold weather hit, and we had a lot of water issues, and so we will work with them to come back out real soon.
Okay. I don't know, is Ben here? Okay, Marty, I don't know, I think that happened sometime back, the pressure washing. I don't know if we passed that stage with that location, with that, the building.
I'm
It's
unaware at this time
some different
if
kind
there
of
was any-
material. And it ma-
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I'm unaware at this time if any pressure washing has taken place before the winter season come into effect. But right now, of course, it's not the time to be pressure washing. But, I'm sorry.
If
Will-
you don't mind
will
my
somebody
asking,
look
what
at
was
it?
the concern, if you don't mind my asking?
Speaking to
Oh,
the
it
mic,
looks
please.
awful.
What was,
It looks
in
awful.
general?
In general,
Okay.
the outside looks awful.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks really bad. And I don't know if pressure washing will do it, is my point, so. It may consider, I don't know. I don't know, if you all would look at that, I would appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am, we will.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Right, which will address that too.
Thank you all.
All right, well, thank you for the presentation, ma'am.
Thank you.
And thank you for the work that you're doing, the entire board. We appreciate you.
Madam Clerk.
The board will now hear and consider the consent agenda.
All right, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
It's approved by, motion made by Commissioner Hambrick. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Davis. Any questions on any other items? Hearing none, those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous.
Our next item is item number 13, monthly report of settlements authorized by risk management and the chief staff attorney for November through January 2023.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and board members. We have the monthly report of settlements that are authorized by risk management and chief staff attorney for November through January 6, 2023 for your approval.
Is there a motion? Commissioner Davis made the motion. I'll second the motion. Are there any questions?
Yes.
Commissioner Franklin.
Yes, the reason I pull this because what happens is we see a lot of these reports put on the agenda, and they're usually on the consent agenda, and then later on as commissioners we find out that there may be some levels of discrepancies at times. So what I would really like is for staff to be prepared to at least present them, similar to what they just did about the library board, where we could see them on the screen, where everybody could see it at the same time. And so that we are all aware of what we're voting on as opposed to just an outline of a report. So if we could do that, that would be great. Do you have that information to present so that for transparency purposes?
Yes, the report itself has supporting documentation so there's so for the public's standpoint, there's 6 items in the report, and for each of the items there is a corresponding document, the release, a copy of the release for each of the items.
Can you go over the overview of the 6? That's not as many, so if we could at least go over it again for transparency purposes, that'd be great.
Sure. So there were no items under $20,000 for the month of November. For item 2, on December 6th, the staff attorney's office executed a settlement with Tiara Connor on behalf of Jaden Connor regarding a motor vehicle accident occurring on February 6, 2020. The accident involved Clayton County employee Yanique Purvis, and she attempted to drive by the vehicle that Jaden Connor was occupying and hit the rear bumper. His medical bills totaled $2,426.50. The staff attorney's office resolved this case in the amount of $5,000 for his bodily injury. Item 3 is on December 9th, 2022. Staff attorney's office executed a settlement agreement with Tanisha Sibley regarding a motor vehicle accident that occurred on February 14th, 2021. This involved a sheriff's deputy pursuit, and the accident occurred. Her medical bills totaled $14,191.75. The county attorney's office, or staff attorney's office, settled this case in the amount of $20,000 for her bodily injury damages. On December 28, 2022, the staff attorney's office executed property damage documents regarding a motor vehicle accident that occurred on June 15, 2019. This involved a Clayton County police officer and Douglas Ligion. I'm not sure how his last name is, but his steering wheel locked and he actually collided into Officer Leila Henry's vehicle. USAA will pay the county $9,836.20 for the damage to the county's vehicle. On December 30th, 2022, the staff attorney's office executed property damage documents for Savannah Brignac regarding a motor vehicle accident that occurred on June 7, 2022. This involved corrections officer Rodney Baxter, who was following too closely and struck her vehicle. We resolved her property damage claim for $10,169.81. And finally, on January 6, 2023, the Staff Attorney's Office executed property damage documents regarding a motor vehicle accident that occurred on October 4, 2020. This involved a police officer who was conducting a stop with, Clayton County police officer who was conducting a stop with emergency lights activated when his patrol car was struck by Jose Rodriguez. Country Financial will pay the county $14,786.71 for damage to the county's vehicle.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. You didn't also the first one, we've heard from PD and the others, but the first one, what division was that one in?
That was Senior Services, I believe.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Our next item is item number 21, Resolution 2023-20. Chief Staff Attorney Charles Reed.
Resolution 2023-20 is a resolution authorizing Clayton County to enter into an agreement with Strayer University to authorize the chairman to execute the agreement, to authorize the chief financial officer to amend the budget where necessary, to reflect an appropriate revenue source and expense as may be required, to provide an effective date of this resolution and for other purposes.
Is there a motion to approve? I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions?
This is for
Strayer.
2023. Yes, there is. I understand that this will enhance the opportunity for our employees, but I have a concern here. And the concern is in the presentation, it was stated that this was all free. And the way this reads, it says that we will appropriate a revenue source and expense. And I don't want any holes for there to be any expenditure on behalf of our staff for any type of education outside of continued education, particularly for anyone unless it comes before the board. So, and that's the first concern. The second concern is the fact that if it is something that extended to the employees, we're welcome to extend it to the employees, but with the board ratifying it, I'm always thinking of liability and responsibility. So I have concerns on those two items. The way it's written and the fact that if it's free, we shouldn't have to act or do anything.
As far as, let me start with the second. As far as the board having to approve any time that there is a matter in which the county is involved with an agreement, you all, in order for it to be enforceable, has to be read on the minutes. And so this, my understanding that HR, when they presented this matter, this was going to be an agreement with Strayer University to offer discounted tuition and other educational opportunities to county employees. I do not believe that there is a budgetary impact. So to the extent that we need to take that part out of for the chief financial officer, I certainly can amend our resolution to take that part out, but authorizing the chairman to execute the agreement.
Okay, and that's another point. As you know, as an attorney, an agreement always has two things. So where one side is giving something, the other side is giving something. So once again, I still stand on the fact that if Strayer wants to provide a service to our folks, it's no different than a AAA discount. You know, if you're going to receive a discount or senior services for those who are, seniors who are over 55, they get a discount. All they got to do is go ask for it. What I have a concern with is us entering into an agreement for something they want to offer, but then at the same token, what are we giving back? So there's no term, there's no reason for an agreement.
Only to the extent that if the county intends to do this, in order for it to be enforceable, any agreement, whether it's an MOU or agreement, has to be approved by this board. Now, they can do it, but it just won't be enforceable.
So I'm going to say it one more time, Mr. Reed. All agreements, the definition of an agreement is you and I'm going to give something, you're going to give something. So that give is that we're giving them information of our employees. Because if we're not giving them anything, there is no reason for an agreement. There are two parties to an agreement and two terms for the agreement. And if it's just one-sided, there is no need for an agreement. I don't want to share our employees' information with somebody so they can be solicited.
Let me have Human Resources come and speak more to what the county's responsibilities are under this.
Ms. Ambles?
Yes, good evening, Chairman, Vice Chair Franklin, Commissioner Dr. Anderson, Commissioner Hambrick, Commissioner Davis, and of course, good evening to our valued Clayton County citizens. I'm almost in agreement with Commissioner Franklin, because if it is the way that Human Resources understands the agreement, first of all, there is no budgetary impact. During my presentation, I made that clear. I also outlined some components of the agreement, like the Sophia Learning platform, which is free to our employees, college grade classes, a fellowship scholarship program that is available to our public safety and law enforcement personnel, a 25% discounted tuition, as well as other agreements. The same was explained to me as Chief Staff Attorney Reed explained it, because there is an agreement. Legal reviewed the agreement. They did not see any issues with the agreement. But I can honestly say that I'm almost in understand for Commissioner Franklin, if there is no give and take, if this is something that they are offering, I would just assume that we are free and clear. But I would, even if that was not the case, and you all will see us a lot, me and Ryan Shaw, because we're doing a lot of things in employee relation to positively impact our workplace. Because my question is, if you live in a mansion, what good is it to live in a mansion and you're not comfortable there? From a human resources perspective, we're doing everything that we can to enhance the environment for our employees, and this is just one thing. But my understanding of the agreement is the same that Chief Staff Attorney Reed explained.
So, all that was said to say that we don't need an agreement, or we need it.
The bottom line is, if they want us to sign something and we want it to be enforceable, it has to be approved. If we want them to sign and it doesn't matter whether it's enforceable, they can just sign it and we just move on.
Mr. Reed, Mr. Chair, if I may. I'm making a point of this because as a government, we've got to be very careful. The definition of an agreement is negotiated and typically legally binding arrangement between parties as to a course of action. The absence of incompatibility between two things or consistency. So as the attorney, what concerns me is you're talking about something that's enforceable. So we're not trying to enforce anything. They're offering a discount. A person can go to any place and get a discount. Sam's Club come in here and offer discounts all the time. So I don't understand why it was presented to this board, understanding that a term of agreement requires action on two parties. We should not be sharing information with them. If they want to offer a discount, fine. Then all we're going to do is put it out there and the citizens can go there. And I have a concern about putting a university or something above another university like Clayton State. I don't want the county's name on anything. When somebody go there and they have issues, well, the county told me about it. I just don't feel comfortable with that. And we need to set a precedence moving forward. So I have a real concern about it, but I'm ready for the vote.
Are there any other questions for Ms. Ambles or Mr. Reed? All right. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
4-1, it fails.
Thank you.
3-2. I said nay too.
Yeah, he's still.
Next.
Mr. Chair, what was the vote?
4-1. Commissioner Davis was for it.
And let's make it clear, Mr. Chair, they can go to Strayer and get their discounts, if you don't mind.
Our next item is item number 29, Board Appointment for Development Authority.
All right. Mayor John Lampo has resigned from the Development Authority. Term will begin immediately and will expire March 1st, 2025. This is Dr. Anderson's selection.
Good evening, board members and community members. I would like to appoint Mr. Donald Craddock to the Development Authority at this time and to fill the space of Mayor John Lampo, and which will expire on March 1st, 2025.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any questions? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Next board appointment to the board is to the Board of Ethics. This appointment began with District 1 and continues in numerical order in the beginning of each year in January. This is the third year for this appointment, therefore the appointing commissioner is District 3, Vice Chair Felicia Franklin.
Thank you. I would like to actually appoint, one second, Mr. Chair, I want to get the name right, I apologize. I would like to appoint Ms. Kathy Loving to that board.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Any questions? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Mr. Chair, our next items are zoning public hearings. Citizens may speak for or against an item that is considered by law to be a zoning decision, and each side will have 10 minutes to present its case. In the event there is more than one speaker per side, speakers must divide their time in order to complete their full presentation within the 10-minute time allotment. When the time runs out, the speaker will be expected to cease speaking and leave the podium. Applicants or citizens speaking in favor of an item shall speak first. Applicants in zoning ordinance cases shall have the right to reserve time for rebuttal. Opponents of a zoning decision item shall have no right of rebuttal. When speaking, speak directly into the microphone and begin by stating your name, address, and name of any organization you represent. Abusive, profane, or derogatory language will not be permitted.
And before you begin, let me just recognize a few people that we have with us at our meeting this evening. We have City Councilwoman from City of Jonesboro, Danya Sartor, Judge, Juvenile Court Chief Judge, Deidre Burney Butler. We have councilwomen from the City of Lovejoy, Rebecca Wright and Rosanette
Kirby.
Sorry about that, Miss Kirby. I apologize for butchering your name, but you're on my thoughts. In my thoughts. All right, please, let's proceed.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
If you don't mind, we also have the Honorable Mr. Frank Cobbs, who is quite often in our
Yes,
audience
and
from
I miss
Riverdale.
him every time. City of Riverdale. Thank you for being here, sir. We appreciate y'all.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners.
Solicitor General's here as well.
Item number 32 has been requested to be removed from, to be tabled from this meeting to the March meeting.
Which
March
item?
21st.
The date is March 21st.
Okay, is that Commissioner Davis?
Yes,
Is that your motion?
it is. To move it to March 21st. Yes. I've already spoken with it myself. I'm sorry.
All right. Is there a second? I'll second the motion. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Next, please.
Item number 33, BOC dash 2210-0241, CUP to install a billboard at 1075 South Loop Road, which is a request by Clear Channel Outdoor for a conditional use permit to install a billboard at 1075 South Loop Road, Atlanta, Georgia 30320, which is in the heavy industrial zoning district. Said property, consisting of plus or minus 9.47 acres, is further known as parcel 130410560001A, and located on I-285 between Highway 139 Riverdale Road and South Loop Road. And staff's recommendation is approval. ZAG recommendation was for denial.
All right, is the applicant present? Is the applicant present? Commissioner Hamburg, how you want to proceed? Is this on you?
It's me.
Okay.
Were you all aware that they were not going to be here? Or?
We were not aware that they would not be here today.
Now, I will say this, I spoke with, well, somebody sent me a text earlier in reference to this, and I assured them that it was going to be on the agenda, that it was on the agenda, and that it was going to move forward because they had a concern about the ZAG's recommendation.
And they text you?
But they're not here.
They're not here.
But Madam,
And they didn't get in touch with the
Commissioner
for the district.
Hmm.
What would you recommend?
It's up to the board that you can move forward without them. You can table it, but it has to be a public hearing if you're going to make a decision.
I do the public hear it right. We'll table it.
Or right, either a public hearing or you can table it, whichever one you want to do.
Let's just table it. And if they come or show some respect or whatever, then, you know, we'll go ahead with it. So I would like to just table it.
To the March 21st meeting?
Yes, I'd like to table to the, my motion would be to table, what is this? BOC 2, anyway, to table this resolution until March 21st.
All right, is there a second to table this zoning request?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Franklin. Are there any questions?
Chair, I have a question. I
Yes,
just want
ma'am.
to make sure, February 21st, that's the next zoning. So did you want it for
Oh, I'm
the-
sorry, February.
February
yes.
21st?
Yes, February 21st, thank you.
We need to amend the other motion too then, Mr.
Because we
Chair.
said March for something else.
You said March on item 31 as well.
Mine was March
You want
21st.
March?
No, he wants March.
Mine was March
Yeah,
21st.
yours is correct.
Well, I would like February.
Okay. So you want to amend your motion for February? Because you
Uh,
did say March.
Yes, I would amend the motion for March, is it 21st?
It is this
February.
one.
February 21st.
My birthday is in March. February 21st.
All right, is there a second on the amended motion?
Second.
Any questions? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Ordinance 2023-14. The next three ordinances are requests from, these aren't board-initiated texts. But there are text amendments that have been requested by business owners, and they will all three require, two of the three, 14 and 15 are from business owners. 16 is a board-initiated text amendment, but all three will require public hearings. So starting with item number 34, which is ordinance 2023-14. It's an ordinance to amend the Clayton County zoning ordinance, specifically to amend the zoning ordinance Appendix A, Article 1, Section 1.5, define words, and Article 3, Section 3.19, MXI, mixed-use commercial industrial district intent, permitted uses and conditional uses. Section 3.21, GB, general business district intent, permitted uses and conditional uses. Section 3.35, MX, mixed-use district, and Section 3.36, land use matrix, to regulate the zoning use classification, to provide an effective date of this ordinance, to provide for a repeal of conflicting ordinances, to provide for codification, to provide for severability, and for other purposes.
All right, is the requester present? Is the businessman who requested this change present? All right, so Mr. Reed, again, we have the option of tabling this or just voting against it or having, I know we have to have a public hearing for it, but.
That's correct. You can move forward with a public hearing if you decide to move forward with a public hearing, there were recommendations made by planning and zoning staff, as well as recommendations from ZAG that might be appropriate for planning and zoning staff to at least give some information to the public on that. If you decide to move forward, otherwise you can table it.
All right, well, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to table it till February 21st, at which time we can get some more clarification, and hopefully the requester will be present. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Commissioner Franklin.
I've never seen in all of my 6 years where somebody from the public is asking to change all of the text amendment as opposed to particularly a particular area. So I don't know if this was written in error, but that's of concern. So I'm glad we're tabling it, and I think that we need to table it, and y'all need to go back and figure this out. Because if they want to have the use of a piece of land, they need to present said land for us to see if this type of text amendment does qualify, and not ask us to make an amendment to our entire zoning requirements.
Mr. Ejiki.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. The request for citizens to request a text amendment is actually codified. It is part of our code that they can. It's not something we prefer. As a matter of fact, we're thinking about not allowing that, but it is part of our code. So because it's part of code, we have to process it. What is being asked in the two of the areas actually has merit. It pointed out some things we needed to correct in the code. But Commissioner, short answer is that the code allows for citizens, for the public, to request a text amendment.
For the entire, we need to look at that. There's a hole there. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Any other questions? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Ordinance 2023-15 is an ordinance to amend the Clayton County zoning ordinance, specifically to amend the zoning ordinance Appendix A, Article 1, Section 1.5, define words, and Article 3, Section 3.19, MXI, mixed-use commercial industrial district intent, permitted uses and conditional uses, Section 3.21, GB, general business district intent, permitted uses and conditional uses, Section 3.35, MX, mixed use district, and Section 3.36, land use matrix, to regulate the zoning use classification, and to provide an effective date of this ordinance, to provide for repeal of conflicting ordinances, to provide for codification, to provide for severability, and for other purposes.
All right, is the requester present? Please come forward, sir. Please state your name for us, and if you would like to reserve any minutes for a rebuttal, should somebody be opposed to it during
Yes,
the
I would.
public
Thank you.
hearing.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Stephen Rowland. I'm with Rowland Engineering out of Macon, Georgia. I'm here on behalf of Habiba Investments, the developer seeking to construct a Tim Hortons quick serve restaurant and coffee shop on Terra Boulevard,
Would you like to
6510 Terra Boulevard. We would like to reserve time for rebuttal if needed.
How many minutes?
5 minutes should be enough.
5 minutes, okay. Please proceed.
This property is owned MX. The MX ordinance states that all permitted uses under general business and office and institutional would be a permitted use. However, under the general business ordinance, it states that restaurants with drive-through windows are not allowed or excluded. However, in another part of the ordinance, in the matrix of permitted uses, it says that drive-through windows are a permitted use in general business. So because of that conflict, we were told we would need to request a text amendment to correct the conflict in the ordinance, where it's permitted in one section, not permitted in another. However, in 2017, ordinance number 2017-88 did just that. It struck those words where it excluded drive-throughs and drive-ins. However, in 2021, in ordinance 2021-55, that wording, we feel, inadvertently was replaced back into the ordinance. Rather than grant our request to make a restaurant with drive-through a permitted use in the MX ordinance, staff is recommending that it be a conditional use. Therefore, we would have to come back before you. If you approve their recommendation tonight, we would have to come back before you to request a conditional use. We do argue that in the MX zoning where this property is located, there are several restaurants with drive-through windows existing in the same zoning that our property is. There's a Popeyes, a Starbucks, which are very similar nature to the proposal that we are proposing. If you feel that we would go forward with staff's recommendation, we will proceed with our conditional use application, and as I said, we will be back before you to give you more details of the development to request a conditional use.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, this time this is a public hearing. If there's anybody here who'd like to speak in favor of the requester's, the applicant's request, please come forward. Anyone like to speak in favor of?
My name is Abid Kutliwala. I'm a developer as well. I'm applicant. I just wanted to talk about the project that I'm doing. It's a Tim Hortons. I don't know how many are familiar with the Tim Hortons, but Tim Hortons is a coffee. It's a coffee shop. It's #1 brand of Canada, #3 in the world in the U.S. And it just serves a very good concept for the beverage to the community. And this will be, if it's approved, and this will be first one in the metro Atlanta area to be opened. So it's a very nice looking building, and we'll make sure we serve good neighbors and a good part of the community, if approved, part of it. So.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else like to speak in favor of? Anybody like to speak in opposition to? Anybody opposed? All right, here and seeing none. Mr. Reed?
I think it might be appropriate to have staff explain the reason why they recommended this go as a conditional use permit as opposed to permit it outright in general business.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and I have a question in the meantime.
Commissioner Hammer.
Okay, if this is approved, does this mean that they have to come back? Or?
Yes, ma'am.
They have to pay more money for something we did.
This is just the text amendment.
Yeah, the text amendment is to, if you go back a few years, when drive-thrus were removed from the text, that's on Terra Boulevard. Then when Starbucks came in, there were some changes made in the code in order to bring in Starbucks. That was the conflict he was mentioning. It wasn't removed across the board in our code. So what we're saying that in order for a drive-through to come of any type, it would be a good idea to make sure that at least the district commissioner gets a chance to see what's going on by going through the zoning process. Then the community gets to know what it is. During their vetting period, then it's decided whether it's something that needs to be there. Again, it looks at traffic and everything else that's supposed to be there and all that. So that's the reason why we are recommending that they apply for a CUP. It's a measure of managing what's coming in.
Okay, so with this company, what if another company comes
The same, they have to come
So
to
everybody that
CUP.
comes will have to do the
Everybody
same
have to
thing.
come, yeah,
If they want to drive through.
yeah.
I have a concern, Mr. Chair.
Hold on, sir. Were you finished?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Franklin.
Mr. Jiki just stated that we changed our entire code for one business. We have to understand that we only have the rights to police. We can't manage anything. We can police. I think, Mr. Reed, we have to understand we have to be careful of these things. This shows the holes that we have in our county code. One of the things that it also states when we're setting laws that it must be applicable to all, but yet and still we have a director that just stated that we made a change for one particular business. That really is of great concern to me. If we need to fix it, we need to fix it. But I've said over and over again that we need to dot our I's and cross our T's. And this is a perfect example of it. I agree that we have the ability to police, but to have, again, a business to present it, and I'm glad you were here to explain it, to find our mistakes is of great concern to me. So but this needs to go on record, and it does not need to go without us understanding the gravity of it. I remember when we made these changes, and I voted against them because I remember when the attorney was sitting there previously, and I didn't even have a copy of them to review them. Well, we just know what's in there. This is why I didn't vote for them back then. These mistakes should not be happening on a regular. And not only that, I have questioned if it was even lawful now that you stated we only did it for one particular business. We don't have that ability as a board. And if you don't know, please go back and read ACCG. I don't mean to be rude, but we've got to become true experts in the area in which we work.
Commissioner, at the time, it was a different board. As you remembered, as you said, it was the board at the time that approved it. It wasn't done just for one business. Excuse me. There was an economic development angle to it. We had a seismo study done. There was an anticipation of things to happen on that corridor. It was not just one. Because of the seismo study and all the stuff that's supposed to happen around the old Dixie area and all that, then that corridor was slated for redevelopment. Then the change was made. It wasn't made arbitrarily.
Chairman Turner?
Commissioner Davis.
These are conflicting ordinances, are they not?
Mm-hmm.
I think what you said.
They are conflicting ordinances.
Yet, I think it has to do with.
So it should be that we make them work asynchronous. So we need to go ahead and, I believe, just make the change to the text amendment so that we are treating all the same. So this is not about treating a business or giving a business a different type of preferential treatment. I think with the conditional use permit, it allows us the ability to say who can have a drive-through and who cannot, because all of them are not created equal.
Exactly.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, sir. With that being said, is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Oh, hold on.
I'm sorry.
wait a minute. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, we were tabling.
That's right, you didn't get to it, did you?
I'm sorry.
He still had 5 minutes for rebuttal.
Oh, I'm sorry. You are right. That's why you get paid the big dollars, to keep us on track. Sir, you got 5 minutes for a rebuttal.
Thank you, Mr. Parliamentarian.
Thank you. I do appreciate the recognition that even though our application, our request is not being granted, our application is being used as, I guess, the opportunity to amend the ordinance as staff now wishes. And we did have to pay for it, and it does cost a good bit.
So you had to pay for us to fix our part.
It's a good bit of time on our behalf, as coming to meetings and that such. If it's passed, we've got to do it again. Pay another application fee, which we've already paid the application fee and filed for the conditional use permit because we were told it would be coming. I don't know if it's within your purview to grant our conditional use to at least save us another 3 meetings, or to grant our previous request to make drive-throughs a permitted use in general business.
We can only vote on what's before us at this time.
And we can amend it, Mr. Chair.
Well, I guess as Commissioner District
Commissioner
4,
Davis.
I have no knowledge of what's being proposed here. So, I mean, as far as the text amendment, fine, but as far as the business, I
That's
would
why
want
they
to
have to
come
come
back.
back.
Yeah.
Now, we did go through the community information meeting.
I would like,
Hold on a
Mr.
second, Commissioner.
Yes.
Let's wait till we get recognized. Are you finished, Commissioner?
Yes.
Commissioner Franklin.
You might want to step back for this one.
Okay.
If we want to do better as a county and have quality businesses coming into our community, we have got to do better. No one should have to pay for our mess up. So however we need to fix it, we need to fix it. And if we need to fix this text amendment and refund this company their money, that's what we need to do. Let me tell you, this is the reason a lot of these larger businesses do not come into Clayton County. And I have served in many capacities on other areas with a lot of business owners when we're trying to get them and attract them here. Even most recently, we have a project that is approved on 1941 that has already gone through the state processes, paid all the fees, and done everything they need to do. And then they get hung up because we can't even find anybody in the office or we don't have a clear reading of it. Board, we cannot continue to move forward in this fashion. So we can take this and we can amend it, we can vote for it, but we can also make sure that we make a recommendation to return these people their money for our mistake. If a tax amendment is in conflict, then we have to fix it. It is not incumbent upon others to pay for our mistakes. We paid an attorney firm to put these amendments in here for the code. We did this. So we've got to fix it. If we want to do things differently, we can't keep doing the same thing expecting different results. And we have to hold people accountable, particularly our folks that are supposed to be the subject matter experts. And I apologize, but let me tell you, I'm all about making sure that we do what we need to do to get these quality businesses in here and not make it convoluted. It is unfair to you as a business to have to pay again and then come back to us again to get extra permission. And yes, the board, as terms of each one of the commissioners, should know what's going in the district and approve it. But for this that is before us today, we can amend this and make sure that we fixed our text amendment and go back and hold those accountable that did not notice it or did not fix it when we paid them the first time to do it and get these people their money back.
All right, I'm sorry, sir, we interrupted you. You got 3 more minutes left if you still.
I don't even think you need it anymore.
Ma'am. Yes,
You
yes,
did
ma'am.
say it all. I'm Dakota Carruthers with Parker Poe, also for the applicant. I just wanted to clarify that our original request was to make this a permitted use in the mixed-use district, not conditional. That was just a recommendation by staff in the previous board. Just wanted to clarify.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, one more thing.
Commissioner Franklin.
And if that is the case, then staff should have made this recommendation before the board and told y'all, you know what? We noticed our mistake. We will put it before the board. I know you want permitted, but are you willing to do conditional? And that's what you were asking. So we need to fix it.
No, sir. No, sir.
It's his money. I can, if you telling him no,
Ma'am.
sir.
Ma'am,
I just want to say I have an existing.
thank you. Thank you. All right. Commissioner Davis, you were making a comment or
No,
a motion.
I'm done. Well, you mean with a motion?
Yeah.
Yeah, I move that we go ahead and change the text amendment to read that the drive-through is still a conditional use permit.
All right, and I think we got a second. Did I second that? If not, I'll second it now. Are there any other questions?
Yes, it's not still. We have to make it a conditional use, Mr. Chair. We have to be accurate.
Any other questions?
We have to amend it that we're making it a conditional use.
That was the motion, to make it within
That was
their
the initial
conditional use.
motion.
We have to remove, okay, fine. And so moved on that.
Okay. We got a motion and a second. Any other questions? Hearing none. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It It's unanimous.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we refund the money to this company for a mistake that we made as a county government for proposing this to us, which we can do.
Mr. Reed,
And I
is that
seconded
proper
it.
to make a motion without being recognized or even to put it before the board?
Not as parliamentary. She can ask to be recognized and then make the motion.
Well, Mr. Chair, can I be recognized, please? Sir?
Commissioner Franklin.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that this board refund the money to this company who has brought before us the mistake that is made within our code. The fund that they have paid, any and all funds they paid to bring this before this board today.
And is there a second?
Second.
Any questions?
Yes. How much have you all spent already?
The application fee is
Come up to the podium,
$500.
please, sir. Come to the podium.
The application fee for the text amendment was $500, and we've also paid $500 for the subsequent conditional use application. And since you're making this recommendation, we will be back before you for the conditional use
Correct.
request.
So
So it'd be just the first.
I will wait. Mr. Chair, can I be recognized, please?
Commissioner Franklin.
Thank you. I would like to amend my motion to refund you the $500 that you've paid to show us our mistake.
Is there a second?
I second
To the
it.
amended motion.
I second it.
All right, any other questions? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Hope you'll continue to do business with us.
The last item is a board-initiated text amendment. Ordinance 2023-16, ordinance to amend the Clayton County zoning ordinance, specifically to amend the zoning ordinance Appendix A, Article 3, Section 3.7, RS 110, District Intent, Permitted Uses and Conditional Uses, Section 3.36, Land Use Matrix, Section 3.37, RMTSF, District Intent, Permitted Uses and Conditional Uses, and Article 6, 6.12, Personal Care Homes, Boarding Home, Group Home Standards, PCH, regarding boarding houses, group homes, personal care homes, to provide an effective date of this ordinance, to provide for repeal of conflicting ordinances, to provide for codification, to provide for severability, and for other purposes.
All right.
And again, this is a board-initiated text amendment, so if the staff can speak to what the purpose is, and then it would be open for public comment.
Come on up and give us the specifics of the request.
This is just to spread the group home and personal care requirements to RS 110 and RMTSF, just to make sure that those two residential zoning districts also have those restrictions, because the rest of the residential districts have what the board passed for the new group home, where it states that if you have 3 or less, you can be permitted outright, but if it's 4 or more, then you have to come to the board. We just want to make sure it's codified for those two zoning districts.
Commissioner Hambrick.
Yes, Mr. EGK. So will this help with the problems we've been having in District 2 with the boarding homes? You know, I'm planning a meeting on this, and I would like for you to attend.
I have accepted.
Thank
you. Unfortunately, no. The issue that the commissioner raised is the issue of part split. Folks start doing things before they come to us. So we have a process that we're following right now for part splits. We have a number of part splits that we have put a hold on because of trying to use the code to police it. So this, as it is, not going to stop part split or illegal group homes. It will not stop. It will not.
So why is
This is just to make sure that when a group home is coming to RS-110 or RMTSF, that the code speaks to it. We just want to make sure that we have it codified. But in terms of part split and the issues that are prevalent in all the districts, we're working towards a way of trying to resolve it. It's a little bit difficult to do. We now know where to search. We now know the things to do to impede the progress of it. And so we are doing those things I will explain in your meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, this is a board-initiated text amendment. At this time, we're going to have a public hearing. Or is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of this request? Anyone like to speak in favor of? Anybody in opposition to?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say something.
Please come forward.
Oh, yeah, I'm making you drink all my water tonight. It's hot in here. I'm cold.
Madam Clerk, Mickey Garber, unincorporated Rex, Georgia. Commissioner, Chairman Turner, Vice Chair, and members of the board, the one thing that y'all have to consider here is taking care of people who have skin in the game. What I'm calling skin in the game is home ownership and protecting their properties against an invasion of slums, boarding houses, things that run people's property values down. And before you vote on this, you ought to take care of this RS-110 situation of putting boarding houses and situations like that into communities. Thank you for your time.
Is there anybody else? Please come forward.
My name is Shakir Muhammad. My concern about the group home, of what they're going to do to the communities where the people live with children and stuff. And my concern is, if we have group homes in the community, we're going to have automobiles all up and down the street, all on the sides of the street. They're going to destroy the neighborhood with all the automobiles and with group homes and stuff. If you bring them into Clayton County, in these neighborhoods, that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to destroy the neighborhood because they ain't got no parking facility for a group home.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
Good afternoon, commissioners and invited guests and citizens. I agree. We shouldn't even
Please
consider
state your
that.
name for me, sir. Please state your name.
Wayne Madden, Clayton County. These group homes is a lose-lose. Let's don't waste too much energy on it and vote no. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Good evening, Commissioners, Vice Chair, Chair. My name is Patricia Muhammad, and I have been a resident for almost 30 years here. And the quality of life will drastically decrease because of these homes. I'm not an insensitive person. They are set up for low income. I'm low income. But I have been a property owner for all these years, and I hate for my community, my neighborhood, and this county to continue to go in the dump because of this. It's something that needs to be done. Please help us with it. Thank you.
Come on.
Excuse me, I lost track. Are we on a
Those who are opposed, are you opposed? This is a public hearing.
No, I'm not opposed.
Okay.
So I missed the opportunity.
Say what? Come forward and speak. I'll allow you to come forward. You are.
I'm Drew Andrews, unincorporated Clayton County, District 4. I only rose because my life work. I hear a stigmatism when I hear a group home, shelter, things of that. We are a nation of second chances. Frankly, I think we all have people in our family who rely on the compassion, who rely on us wanting to grant them the opportunity to turn their life around. It bothers me when I hear the condensation in people's voice when they say, a group home. I'm a property owner. I am. But I have the compassion for people because I know that there are mistakes that's being made. But we can't give up on people. So I don't know, maybe if we place this opportunity somewhere within Clayton County, but maybe not within a subdivision or something, but we cannot just discard it because it sounds bad. I'm sure there's some great people in our county who've benefited from group homes. They probably one of the judges. All right, thank you.
All right, anybody else? Bless you.
My name is Jody Chambers, and I'm from District 3. And I'm saying that I've heard a lot of people sharing about they didn't want the group homes here either. And I'm a homeowner as myself. And I believe in second chances myself as well, because I have family members who need second chances. And all the years that I've lived here, I think we couldn't have group homes here. And so now, I've been here 30 years, it's changing, life changes. People need help, and we got to give them help. So I think that group homes is a good thing. It depends on where they're at. Sporadically throughout the community, you wouldn't even know they're a group home unless they have a big sign on there that says, I'm a group home. So with the right people in place, doing what they need to do, especially for children that are aging out of the system, that are becoming homeless, we need to provide services for them as well. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I'm going to remind everyone, we're asking those who are in opposition to come forward. So who's opposed? Anyone else opposed? Didn't? No, sir. You've already had your say. Anybody else? Mr. Ejiki, can you come back up to the podium?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The group home ordinance is in the code already. I'm trying to clarify what we're doing. Right. The group home ordinance, it's in our ordinance already. And we went through a lot of research to get it to where we have better control of them. There are two areas. If you remember, RMTSF is a new zoning classification that was created to solve an issue that we have from maybe the 70s. So all we are doing is to make sure that all our zoning classifications reference the same things for group home. It's not as easy, like, not even, that's not the word. We can better regulate group homes right now. The group home issues we have in the county are the illegal ones.
Mm-hmm.
It's not folks who come through the process when they apply. Part split is something that started maybe a year ago. We started noticing it. What we are doing is we're also applying the code to it. That's why we're holding all part splits and telling staff they need to schedule a meeting with me, because the part split resolution, it's in the floor plan. So when you see a 3-bedroom house being chopped up into 6 rooms or 6 spaces, things I will not even call room, then that is also an issue. We pulled a record. We finally found out how the part split. I'm saying this for the benefit of the board, so you guys know what we're doing. We pulled a property ownership record. We finally looked at, start seeing some similarities. In the county property ownership record, we found out how part splits are listed. And we have an Excel file of those. What we're doing is whenever they apply for any kind of renovation, like I said earlier, staff puts a hold on it, then request that they have a meeting with me so that we can, and the solution really is to look at the floor plans they are submitting, because the floor plan will trigger, you're changing it from how the house was built into something else. That triggers that conversation. What are you going to use it for? Then if you're going to use it for more than what is designed, then you have to come through the board process, through the zoning process. Up there on the screen, commissioners, it's one of the things, we go back to where it talked about 2 acres. Okay, yeah. It talks about 2 acre requirement if you want to do, you coming through to do a group home. So the issue is not folks who come the proper way. It's the legal ones that start, that we get wind of it through the neighbors. Can you go to the land use matrix? All we're doing is for this change we are proposing, it's where the code, either by Scribner's error or something, where it talks about, where it says 5, we're striking the 5 out and going to 3 to make it consistent with our code. That's all we're doing with this text element. And there's a where it used to be 6, we go 4. Because if you remember, there was a time it has to be 6 to get to the board. That's right. We changed it sometime last year or last 2 years. Where it is, all we're doing is correcting those 2 zoning classifications to be consistent with the rest of the zoning codes. So we're working hard to catch the illegal ones.
Thank you, too.
Yeah, we're working hard to, and that led to, thanks to the COO, he was charged to look for a solution. We came up with a solution in terms of how we are seeing code enforcement in the county. So.
Thank you for
Thank
that.
you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, is there a motion by the board?
No, Mr. Chair, one question.
Commissioner Franklin.
Well, thank you, sir. Can I have COO and Chief Murkison come up, please? Because it's actually a piggyback on the question that Commissioner Hambrick asked, because they're the ones that are having to enforce the life code, or if it's Ryan Morrison in the back.
Yes, come forward, Mr. COO.
Whoever needs to
and
answer.
Mr. Chief Murkison.
So, just for point of clarity, though, and I'm glad Mr. Jiki gave us this additional information, and thank you for those for your passion, but it's important that we stick to details. So, it was asked in the beginning by Commissioner Hambrick, does this help the concerns and the issues that our residents and homeowners are currently having about illegal homes? And I want people to hear that, illegal homes, because this is exactly what we found, where people were living in inhumane spaces because they were allowed to do certain things. So does this help or does it not help? I'm not clear on that yet.
So, Commissioner, I think when Director GK addressed the question initially, it does not address the concern as it pertains to pad split. The reason being is in most instances what's happening, those individuals are doing things legally. They're doing it behind closed doors. The question is, does the code give us an opportunity to enforce said rules?
Correct.
And see what's happening behind closed doors. Oftentimes what we're figuring out is that if the neighbors are not providing us context to what's happening in that community, then oftentimes we don't know. So what we're trying to do is figure out ways that we can identify those issues as it pertains to making any changes within that the confines of that home in order to make those respective citation issues that might be outlined in that respective household. So what they're bringing forth right now is really not addressing the pad split issue, but it's getting us on the path of correction by doing that.
Right. Okay. And does it allow us to be able to, as you just stated, to even enforce the international code? Does that help as well, or no, with us making this change? And that would be to Chief Murkison.
Yes, ma'am. So there's, looking at what's being done here in the conversation with pad split, there's about 3 different things going on here that are not necessarily all intertwined.
Okay.
When you look at the pad split issues and how we'll apply the fire code to it specifically, that gets a little bit complicated in the number because the state of Georgia does not give the fire marshal's office jurisdiction in single-family residential. So we have to get it to where it's classified as a multifamily residential building, which is considered commercial, before the fire marshal's office can get involved from a fire and life safety standpoint. What we're talking about here is specifically residential board and care, group home, and personal care homes, which fixing this Scrivener's error actually gets it closer to where the fire code will apply to more of these residential boarding care and group homes and personal care homes, because that is solely driven by the number of occupants, and that number is
four more.
Go ahead, speak, Chief.
So when we talk about the group homes, I'm sorry, Deputy Chief Darius Wilson, Fire Marshal's Office, Board, we're talking about 2 different things. When we talk about personal care homes, anything 3 and under is still considered a single-family dwelling. Once you get to 4 to 6, you're talking about a small facility, which is going to give us certain requirements for our fire code. Once you get to 7, you're talking about a larger facility. So when you talk about personal care homes, boarding houses, or group homes, that's going to fall underneath our code as far as the fire marshal's office. When you start talking about the shared living spaces, we're talking about something that's a little bit different, where the numbers are going to vary between the company that's offering the space for the business. So some of these shared living spaces, like Airbnb, pad split, they may only have like 1 home or one bedroom. But there's other places that Director Ejike was talking about, you're splitting these houses into 8, 9, 10 bedrooms, and that's when we start talking about maybe something that's more toward a hotel motel, which is where we start to fall in, because you have transient residents. Transient residence is going to be more of a commercial structure, not a single-family dwelling.
Got it.
I'm glad that we are at least initiating something to get to a point. So thank you all. Thank you, Mr. GK, and you all too. So thank you.
One last question. For a person like me with 4 children, what is the provision that you would not come around and call that a boarding home? We want to make sure we don't create issues. That's why I'm on the specifics. We don't need holes in our code. Is there something written in here to ensure that? I'm glad that it's doing what it's doing.
I don't want to speak for Attorney Reed, but part of the discussion is what constitutes a family. And we talk about a single family dwelling. And so sometimes that's predicated upon the square footage in the house and the number of individuals we'll have in space. And if it seems to be a conflict in space and a conflict in our code, then we're trying to bring recommendations back to this board to address that in a more proper manner.
Okay, no problem.
Is there a recommendation by this board?
I do. I still have one.
You got a question?
As well. Yes.
Commissioner Davis.
The only issue I have, I know this tightens up our requirements, which is good. The only issue I have is with that distance requirement of being 1 mile between establishments. And that's more of a linear mile rather than a drivable mile, correct? And for me, I'd like to see that distance increased.
Yes, that's a linear mile.
Yeah.
And the idea behind that is that you don't have if you cannot consider the size of a subdivision, it says that you're not gonna have that many group homes in one subdivision. Yeah, that was the thinking behind it.
Yeah. Can we increase that distance requirement? Because I mean, my thought is a linear mile is a lot shorter than a drivable mile or a walkable
If
mile.
it's the will of the board, we'll look into it, I'll bring a text amendment, and that increases it.
I'm fine with the way it is.
Any other questions?
That's it for me.
All right, is there a recommendation? Motion.
I make a
Before the motion, please. So should we make that change or recommendation to you all before we do this, or can't we just go ahead and agree?
I'd like to have an opportunity to at least look and see if there's anything that would have any unintended consequences by moving it beyond 1 mile before we say just go ahead and make that right now.
So are you saying go ahead with what we have now?
Yes, and then we can come back if we find there's no conflict or anything by having a larger distance.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner?
Is there a
Y'all
motion?
move for the question?
Is there a motion?
I thought Vice Chair was.
No, sir, so moved.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Second by Commissioner Anderson. Any other questions? Those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous.
The board will now hear public comments. Citizens will be given 2 minutes maximum time limit to speak before the board with a total time of 20 minutes. Public comments must be limited to matters on the agenda or over matters which the governing body has jurisdiction. Speakers must maintain decorous demeanor and refrain from personal attacks upon board members, shouting, and using obscene language. Please state your name and county of residency for the record. Speak clearly into the microphone, and speakers should be courteous, respectful, and not make any disparaging remarks or use abusive language when addressing the board.
Rosinette Kirby. Hey, all right, go Star.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. I bring you greetings from the city of love and joy. I am Rosinette Kirby, a proud staff member at Lovejoy High School and also city council member of the city of Lovejoy. I'm here tonight to uplift a great event coming up, Black History Month Extravaganza. This is something Lovejoy High School will be doing for the first time, and I just want to invite, some of you may have already gotten emails from me. I've been on a roll, sending them out, but it's going to be amazing. I also have a copy for each one of you. And the most important part of this event is going to be the panel discussion. And bear in mind, these are our students that are giving me these ideas. We have the Key Club at Lovejoy. We're amazing. I got 54 amazing students who are working on this. And some of the things that they want to discuss is Black family representation. I'm just going to go over a few. And identity. Equity, inclusion, and justice. Financial literacy. These are high school students who want these information. One of the most important one I heard from them, let's talk mental health. Mental health. How can we get help? How can we get resources? So I just want to uplift this with you guys and ask you to please come out and support this. So can you lock it in your calendars right now? Sorry.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, and thank you for hearing me.
Thank you.
Bye.
Byron Moore.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Turner, Vice Chair Franklin, Commissioners. My name is Byron Moore. I'm in the District 1. I have a concern in reference to, I live in Sapphire Creek, which is in Ellenwood, Georgia. Along that corridor from Forest Park, Jonesboro to Moreland Avenue, there's trash all along that road. Been calling Department of Transportation trying to get those things addressed. They come out and they cut the grass, leave the trash all over the highway. Then they come out a couple of days later and pick up a few pieces, but it's still visible, which is an eyesore. Also, in my community, Sapphire Creek, we have 13 trees that are overgrown that's causing visibility in the community. Tried to get Georgia Power to address the issue. They say, oh, well, it's a homeowner's issue. Asked for the county to assist. They came out and they said, oh, well, this is not on the right of way. But my question was, when this subdivision was developed over 20-some years ago, why wasn't those trees placed in the area where it would not constrict the lighting in the subdivision? Now we're having a big problem with those trees, and I'm just asking for the board to give us some type of assistance in trying to cut those trees back so that it doesn't harbor the safety of our residents. My last thing.
Sir, unfortunately, your time is
And
up.
my time is up, okay.
Who did you speak with I guess, Transportation and Development? You don't
Several
recall?
people, yeah. I mean, I've called several times in reference to trying to, get that area cleaned up, and it's just an eyesore, as I come out of my community and I come home and I see the same trash, and I'm just like, it's
Mr. Chairman, Mr.
Commissioner
Moore,
Anderson.
I will have someone to get with you, and I'll get your phone number, and I will be giving you a call. And I'll speak with you also tonight, but I will be talking with you further tomorrow, so thank you. Mhm.
Robert Rogers.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Vice Chairman. I live on Turner Road, Hampton, Georgia.
State your name for me. State your name again for me.
Steve Rogers, Robert Steve Rogers. I live on Turner Road, Hampton, Georgia, and I think I left a Felicia email
Yes, sir.
about the creek down there flooding, and my neighbor down here, Mike Maloney, there, he got me aware of that. But I told him I'm already aware of it. When I bought the house 29 years ago, they told me it was a flood zone down there. But you could go down there at that time, and the creek was fishable. You could fish in it, walk around, and cut the grass. And the people that left there, that I bought the house from, left the utility shed there. And we moved there in '93, and in '94, that big rainstorm came. We got about 14 inches of rain, and it washed everything away. The building they left there, the liner in my pool came up. It looked like a giant dinosaur in my pool, and it was just a terrible thing. But that's what I'm just concerned about. The Hurricane Creek, it's floods, the beaver dams on it. It needs to be maybe flushed out or something. And I talked to one of the workers on the Turner Road down there at the bridges one day. He was down there surveying, and he said the county was concerned about them removing those bridges there because they held the water back a lot and making some over bridges, either that or do a turnaround. So I got a petition up, got 27 people to sign it to do a turnaround down there, and just close the road and do a turnaround. And I thought that was a good idea. It's keeping a lot of traffic off that road because it's just a little 12-foot wide road with no center line. So most everybody lives there, looks out for one another, and goes back and forth there. So I was just concerned about getting what the county had decided to do about that. Because he told me that if we get enough people to sign for a turnaround, it might persuade them to do the turnaround and save a lot of money just trying to redo the bridges. They removing the bridges and flushing it out, getting those beaver dams out of there would get the water flowing and make our property a lot more accessible and everything.
Right, and your time is up, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Franklin.
Yes, Mr. Rogers. First of all, yes, I did respond back, and I also have been talking to Mr. McMaster, and we have our resilience officer here. Well, they kind of move positions. But we are working on that as of recently, as of today, and there were some items in this agenda to try to get us to where we need to be to get that fixed. So I just wanted you to know we're actively working on it. Thank you for what you're doing, because it is an issue, that it's an ongoing issue between the flooding, and then we have to shore up some things with the water authority. And I want to make sure that I speak with you, but please check it, because I did send it back to you all. Transportation and Development are both here. Okay. Ryan's here, and Chief Murkison are here, and he just put some things forward as of recent, as of today.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Mike Maloney.
Mike Maloney from Clayton County, and I met with y'all back December 6th. Hello, everybody on the board.
Good to see you,
Commissioner
Mr.
Franklin,
Maloney. Hello.
Mr. Turner. I got a phone call from you a little bit before Christmas. I'm just here to follow up, because we got a real issue with this down here. I mean, like Mr. Rogers said, it is a designated floodplain, but I've been there for 37 years. All the residential development that's gone on around us, and that runs off into this creek, you know, it used to be 6-8 inches deep. Yeah, it would flood on a heavy rain. It would dry up. The creek, you know, like I said, 6 to 8 inches deep. Behind my house now, if I want to cross that creek, I got to swim. And one of the biggest issues to me that I've seen, because I've pretty much walked the whole thing, is we do have some beaver dams down there. And we're right across the street from the Cathys. And we found out that they've got some trappers in there on the Flint River. And another one of our neighbors that's not here tonight, he's working on getting them down there to trap the beavers, because it's not his fault and it's not his problem. This house had been abandoned for several years before the guy that's living there now had purchased it. So the beavers just kind of took over there. But even if we get rid of the beavers, the main issue is from him on down, everything is silted in, and there's just no defined channel for anything to escape and to flow. And in my opinion, you're gonna have to basically dredge the creek. You've got a sewer line down the east side of the creek. Me and Mr. Rogers live on the west side, so you've got a problem there if you try to access any issues with your sewer, systems. But if we could get this thing dredged out, from here on down to the Flint River, the water will flow. I mean,
I got you. Your time is up, sir, and as was previously mentioned, we are working on some things to try to adequately address that and mitigate the problem. You keep on doing what you're doing as far as keeping us on our toes and asking the questions.
Like I said,
so
I'm
we don't
just
have a
here
problem
to follow up, and I appreciate you call back.
Yes, sir.
You guys have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Franklin.
Thank you. If I may ask that we actually make sure that we communicate with you all, because Mr. Mahoney, we have been having conversations and things are happening, but as your commissioner, I'm not over operations, but I would ask that whether it's community development, because that's really what community development normally would do, or through this office, that they would gather all the names, all the contact information, which we can easily get through the tax office, and communicate with you all on a regular basis of where we are with this project, so that you all would be aware. So thank you again.
I got a petition as well, and I turned it in. I believe it's Ms. Holloway.
Yes.
She got the petition last time I was here, and it does have everybody's name and addresses and phone numbers on it, because it is affecting a lot of people's property value down through there.
And Chief Morrison is in the back. I'm sure he wants to speak.
So will you communicate with them, please, Mr. Chair, through your operations division on updates, please, sir? Thank you.
Shakir Muhammad.
Good evening. I was thinking about a solution to the problem of people that need shelter. I think Clayton County should build a place instead of bring people into a community where they not bought homes and stuff, not established themselves. Them communities should be able to have what they paid for, a community setting, a community life, and people that need help in low rental or whatever. They need, we need to come up with a building or something where they can house these people, to give them low, so they can give them low rental, the need that they need. But we got a lot of empty buildings and stuff around. I see on Highway 85 and other places. But them buildings can be put to use to house some people that are having problems and stuff like that, instead of tearing up communities. People want a community where they can live in when they pay their money for a home and stuff like that. They want a community of family life, you know.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That's
Before
all
you
I
leave
say.
the podium, give us your name.
My name's Shakir Muhammad.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Patricia Muhammad.
Oh, she gone.
Okay.
So you know her, sir?
You know her, sir.
Mickey Garber.
Mr. Chairman, I respectfully yield the floor to the next legitimate speaker.
Thank you, sir. Dolores Bunch Keemer.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners.
State your name. Yes.
My appellation is Dolores Bunch Keemer. I am the daughter of civil rights leader Cleopatra Jones, who worked in the community for 50 years in New York. I am here because last year this time I came before you all and told you that I was put into Clayton County Jail for holding a cell phone. And Clayton County Jail had a warrant for my arrest for holding a cell phone in my hand. I didn't get my driver's license back from that incident. And I've emailed all of you yet again because I was stopped yet again, and they gave me 3 tickets this time. And one of them was for not having a driver's license. They took my driver's license in October of last year, but they told me that my driver's license had been suspended in September of last year, of 2021. My driver's license could not have been suspended if they took it in October. I would like for these issues to stop. The issue came about because I'm trying to help a gentleman get an annulment. He was criminalized in the whole process of him getting an annulment. All I'm trying to do is get this man an annulment so that he can get away from the woman that took advantage of him, so that we can get her prosecuted because she took advantage of him. He's an elderly man, elderly abuse, etc. I do not want to have to come again to you about this issue with the driver's license. The mayor of Riverdale told them to give me back my driver's license. I had problems when I went over to the jail.
I'm sorry, ma'am, your time is up, but was it the
He
city?
yielded his time to me,
Is
but I
it the
appreciate
city of Riverdale?
No,
who
it
took
is
the
Clayton.
license?
It is Clayton County. There is an officer here in Clayton County who took the driver's license, which means that if he didn't give it back, it is stolen property.
Okay, so have you spoken to the police chief?
I have not spoken to the police chief. I went to the internal affairs. But the thing is that they said, why don't you go get another one? Because that one was mine. I paid just compensation for it, and I want my driver's license back. So I just don't want to be harassed by the Clayton County Police anymore. I don't think I should be harassed. I don't think Mr. Butler should be harassed, because at this point, if they harm, hurt, or kill us because they have a gun, what would we do about it? And they really harassed Mr. Butler when they went to deliver something from the court. So the police department, I'm just bringing it to your attention because I don't want to come back again about this same issue about a driver's license.
The chief of police is behind cut out the middleman, go straight and talk to the chief, and hopefully he can get things resolved for you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Thank you. Devontae Jennings.
Devontae Jennings, Young Democrats of Clayton County. Just wanted to say that we took part in a peaceful protest for temporary warming shelters to be installed, and we just want to give our full support behind any organization that wants to do so. We want to accept any burdens. I will put my name on any burdens that we can do to figure out what type of resources we need to make these happen. I understand things like this are not cheap. Things like this come with having to pay for staff and all type of things that sometimes are a little bit difficult to get. But I am 1,000% confident in our abilities as an organization and our abilities to partner up with organizations that we have in the past to make this happen. Again, we accept any burdens, anything. We just want to know exactly how to go about that process, how to do it, and just a little experience that I had as we were sitting out or camping outside. We planned to, camp out all night, and temperatures were dangerously cold. I'm 1,000% confident people could die from being out in these temperatures. This isn't me coming to be combative. I understand your roles. I understand a lot that you have to deal with, but we would like to take that on in any way we can, connect with anybody that we can. And as we were out there protesting with a young lady, we actually had a car drive by and tell us, get that baby inside. And I got upset for a second, but somebody had to tell me, wouldn't it be nice if we all had that option to do that? And while I have 15 seconds, I would like to, I guess I heard something about a petition. I guess if we can when we get a petition, how many petition signatures would we have to sign, or how many signatures will we have to have in order to get a cooling station and a temporary warming station?
Thank you, sir. And that is a very important topic that you're speaking on, homelessness, that we do take serious. And there are some things in work and some discussions that's being had. Just if, hey, 1 or 100, it doesn't matter. If you want to do a petition and present it to this board, then please feel free to do so.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
20,000 signatures and we got a deal?
That'll do. Now, I'm not saying it's a deal now. You almost got me on that one now. You almost got me. All right, Kevin Barahona.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
the public comment time is
Okay, sir, time is up, but you will be listed first at the next meeting to speak should you come back to our next meeting. And anyone that has not had the opportunity to speak, you will be given that opportunity first at our next meeting. Mr. Reed, is there a need for executive session?
Yes, on litigation and personnel.
On what?
Litigation and personnel.
All right, so is there a motion going to executive sessions for litigation and personnel?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Any questions? Hearing none. Those in favor, aye, and aye. Opposed, it's unanimous. And I failed to mention that we have our Solicitor General with us as well. Thanks for being here, Mr.
And the
Brooks.
Youth Commission was here, Mr. Chair.
Madam Clerk, you set?
I'm set, Mr. Chair.
Motion to reconvene.
So moved.
I'll second the motion. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, it's unanimous. Ms. Ambles.
She in there?
I got to get this to Mr. Reed.
Oh, there she go.
Chairman, Vice Chair, Commissioner, Human Resources, we have two final ones for tonight. Per Civil Service Rule 5.201, on behalf of the Office of the Solicitor, Human Resources is requesting the following step increases. Taz Taylor, current grade and step is 29.9. Total compensation is $90,230. We are requesting 2712 with a total comp of $93,361. The cost is $3,131. William Tipton, current grade and step 27.7. Total compensation, $88,206. We are requesting $27,12. Total compensation is $93,361. Cost, $5,155. Ms. Sawan, and I'm going to spell the last name, Janvier, grade and step, 27.7. We are requesting $27,12. Total comp for 27.7, once again, is $88,206. Total comp for 27.12 is your $93,361. The cost is $5,155. Lastly, Jeff White, current grade and step, 27.7. Total comp, $88,206. We are requesting 27.12 with a total comp of $93,361. The cost for that action is $5,155. The total cost of the request is $18,596.
All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Franklin. Are there any questions? Hearing none. Those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous.
Last one, Chairman, per Civil Service Rule 5.201, on behalf of Court Administration, Human Resources is requesting the following personnel changes. Transfer Brittany Kemp from Magistrate Court at an advanced step to Judiciary Secretary. Total compensation upon transfer would be grade 17, step 13. Total compensation is $60,494. Request to the BOC is 1716 with a total comp of $60,494. The cost for this action is $2,002. We're also requesting to hire Willie Davis, who is a current Clayton County Public Defender employee. We are requesting to hire Mr. Davis as a law clerk senior. The starting compensation for that position is $27,300. Grade 27, step 3, with a total comp of $84,307. The request for the Board of Commissioners' consideration is a starting compensation of grade 27, step 14, total comp $95,515. The cost for this action is $11,208. The overall total cost is $13,210.
If you would state that it would be absorbed within the current budget.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman. Yes, sir. Due to different staffing changes, Dr. Simmons has indicated that his current budget can absorb this cost of $13,210.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Davis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Anderson. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.